Hello, my name's Adrian Cockings, and welcome to the Spanish Show podcast. Today, we are greeted with Maria Jose Munoz Gomez, who is from Help at Hand Spain. We're going to be asking her a lot of different questions that you guys have been asking, and hopefully, we'll get a lot of good information. Maria, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, first of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how Help at Hand started?
Yes. So I obviously, like my name shows, I'm Spanish. From Malaga. I lived in the UK for 21 years. And then I came back about 8 years ago. And I've been doing my own business, Help at Hand Spain, for about 5 years now. Um, and then the way it started is basically, so my husband is English.
Yep.
And obviously, we were very, very lucky because when we moved here in 2018, he was still European. Uh, so it was much easier. But I just got, more and more questions from people on, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? So yeah, that's kind of how I started, slowly like, I know numbers, padron, simple things, and then evolving slowly.
Perfect, because that is literally what Help a Hand Spain does. It helps with paperwork and tiresome bureaucracy that goes on here in Spain. And we've had a lot of jokes on a lot of these videos that I put up as well, because bureaucracy in Spain can be tiresome. It could be like you're banging your head against the wall, but it can obviously be rewarding. So this is what you guys help with, right?
Exactly. And that's what, and as you said, it's really hard because, but it's my day-to-day job. And I just, yes, sometimes it's very frustrated, but then it's very rewarding when you're helping people to, with the dream to come to Spain and move here, and when they get the visa, and, that's the best feeling.
That's, I think a lot of people are probably going to say the same. They get that visa application approved, and that's just a weight off their shoulders, to say the least. Okay, well, what are the biggest mistakes people make when moving to Spain then?
Well, there could be a few. So bureaucracy is very tricky.
Yep.
And especially, anywhere that you go, immigration, consulates, police station, they like, the paperwork, and, any mistake that you have, is like you don't have a translation, or you don't have an apostle,
Yeah.
or anything like that, it could set you back for sure. Also, I have unfortunately found some people that, just yesterday, someone that I had a video call a few months ago, I explained all the situation. One of them is EU, the other one is, they sent me an email yesterday saying, we're here in Spain.
Ah, okay.
So it's like, okay, now it's too late, So, because it's a timing issue, when you have someone that is a non-EU passport, you can only, you have to do certain things with a certain time.
Yeah.
So, people that just kind of up and go, is very brave, but, don't do it. Research.
I like that. So if someone wanted to move to Spain and they wanted to start from scratch, what are the first steps they need to take? What would be your advice to start with?
So my advice is timeline.
Okay.
I would say, just say, right, when do I want to be in Spain by?
Yeah.
And research and do your timeline. I always say depends on the situation. Obviously, depends. Let's say the longest normally is the non-lucrative visa.
Okay. Yep.
Non-lucrative visa is basically. I always say it takes a couple of months to gather all the documentation.
Oh, right. So just to collect the documents to be able to apply for it, not the actual application itself.
No. So
wow.
It's documentation that you have to get, and then you have to do apostles, you have to do translations, and all of that takes time.
Yeah.
And then once you get to the consulate can take up to 3 months.
Oh, wow. So you're already 2-3 months just the paperwork to start with, and then another 2 to 3 months at the consulate. What's after that?
So after that, when you get the visa, you come to Spain, and then you have to do your TIE card, padrón, etc.
That's right, because TIE cards, I've had a lot of people asking about the differences between an NIE number and a TIE card. And some people have actually asked about this. Do I apply for one or do I apply for the other? First of all, can you explain what an NIE number is?
Yeah, it's very confusing because unfortunately, when you go somewhere in Spain, like a bank,
Yeah.
they all say NI number.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they don't know either. So they are confusing people. So normally what they ask for is your residency card,
Yeah.
which is TIE card. So the TIE stands for tarjeta, which is card.
Yep.
And in that card, you've got the NI number.
Yeah.
So the NI number is N stands for numero, which is number, which is our basically identity number.
Mm-hmm.
So in Spain, we have one, but it's called differently. It's called DNI. So is our ID card, basically. So that's the only difference, So you can get an NI number. So when you know this, Adrian. So when you buy a house and you're not resident, you need an NI number. But that NI doesn't give you anything, just the number.
Yeah, that's right. So it basically, I mean, for a lot of people who are just starting out, they might hear all of this vocabulary, NIE, TIE, residencia, and they'll start to just get confused. And that's where in my job, especially as a realtor, I'm exactly the same. I have to explain a lot of these things. So when someone's moving to Spain, they need an NIE number. That is like the first thing they need to get, right?
Not especially. It depends on what they do. So,
okay.
It depends on the situation. As I said, if you're buying a house completely, yes, you need an NI number.
Yeah.
If you're coming with a visa, when you get the visa, you get the NI number in it.
Perfect. So any visa application, you actually receive your NI number with it.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So unless you want to do something here in Spain, mainly buying a house, because you can also open a bank account with a passport, so you don't need it.
Okay, that's interesting. But for purchasing properties, for doing a lot of things financially, so leasing a car or even renting properties, you need an NIE number, right?
Yeah, not for renting either.
Oh, okay. So you could use a passport for rentals.
Yeah, exactly. So I've done. I mean, I do help people rent in here in Malaga. Sometimes some of my clients ask me for help, and sometimes they come before they get the visa, and then you can do the rental with the passport.
That's right. Okay. So there a few people have asked, if you get your NIE number, does that give you residency? Now, I've told them no, obviously. You would need to get an application. If you're outside of Europe, you would need to get a visa application in place to be able to have residency in Spain. Okay, so what are the main visa types that most people are going for at the moment? Well, could you explain the differences between them?
Yeah, so, as I talked about before, you've got the non-lucrative visa, which is what we call the retired visa.
Yeah.
It's called retiring because you need savings or pensions or passive income. Basically, you cannot work.
Okay.
And the difference, as I said before, this is the only visa that you have to apply within the consulate where you live. You cannot apply from Spain.
Okay. So if someone's coming from America, for example, and they wanted to get a non-lucrative visa, they can't do that process here in Spain.
No.
Interesting. That's actually the first time I've ever heard that. So that's really, really interesting to hear that for the first time. Okay. What are the other types of visas that people can start obtaining?
Very popular, obviously started about 3 years ago, is a digital nomad visa.
Yep.
Which is obviously, working remotely from, you have to have your clients not in Spain. You can have 20% of your clients can be in Spain.
Okay.
But the rest have to be outside. And you can either be kind of self-employed, employed, And with that visa, you can actually fly into Spain. The application is done online, and then you can fly back and wait for the visa.
Okay, so that's slightly different to the first one,
Yes, and
to the
also it's
non-lucrative.
shorter. It takes about a month for them to come back.
Okay, so it's a little bit quicker as well.
Yeah, basically, this
Okay.
visa is very, very complicated as well. So it's
Yeah.
not, and they made it very, very, they've been changing and changing and changing over time to tighten up the requirements. Because lots of people used to do, basically, in the UK, you've got like a limited company.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. The same concept here in Spain. And people used to say, right, I've got my company, I work for my company, I do a contract with my company, so therefore I'm employed of
By the
my,
company.
and that was really not good.
Ah, okay. So this is not the way to go forwards with that one.
No. So basically, lots of people did it that way. They got approved, but that's why they tighten things now to say you can't do that anymore. So yeah, the only viable is self-employment or employed.
Okay. Very, very interesting. Are there any other types of visas that people are going for at the moment?
So that's kind of the two
The
main
main
ones.
two.
Then you've got EU, so EU married with a non-EU, which
Yep.
is basically the EU person will do the certificate of EU, and then the married person will do what we call family of EU, and that one is done in the police station, the other one is done online through immigration, and again it takes time. And that's why it's like I always say, if you're gonna come to Spain, because you do both in Spain,
Yeah.
but it's a residency, it's not a visa. But you need to still gather documentation from the country where you come from.
Okay.
So things
Interesting.
like police check, things like that, marriage certificate. You know, get that from the country where you come from, and it has to be a postal in the country where you come from as well. So that's why it's kind of like just don't just stand up.
So literally the best advice is just get the information first and then start proceeding step by step. Don't just do everything at once.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So what there is another one, the student visa that I've also seen floating around as well. I've seen a lot of
Yes.
people from the United States, for example, looking at student visas here in Spain. Can you explain a little bit about that
Yeah.
as well?
Student visas change. Like there was a big change in May last year for
Yeah.
a few visas. One of the changes for the it was a student visa. So before, you can bring the whole family with you on a student visa if
Right.
you speak Spanish. Now you
Okay.
cannot.
That's just been eliminated then from last year.
Yeah, so you can come as a student studying Spanish, but you can't bring your family. You have to
Right.
university, some type of course to be able to do that.
Interesting. Okay, but can't bring the family, so you're literally coming by yourself, unless the family is also studying at the same time, maybe.
Only one person has to study, not the whole family. So yeah, so I have a family. For example, the father is studying for a pilot,
Oh yeah.
and then he could bring the family.
Ah.
So if you're studying something that obviously is like as I said, like a university or course, or then you can bring your family. The only other you can also apply from Spain.
Yeah.
The only other thing, student visa doesn't give you, or it gives you half of the residency. So I explained this.
Yeah.
So the non-lucrative visa and the digital nomad visa, they give you a year and then you renew for another year, or they give you 2 years and then you renew.
Okay.
Those years count towards your residency. And then
Right. Okay.
when you get to 5 years, you can get to permanent. And
Ah, fantastic.
once you're permanent, then in the case of the non-lucrative visa, for example, you don't have to show your money anymore or anything. You're a permanent resident, and that's it.
Perfect. So you need to get to that 5 year mark. That's
Yeah.
what everyone's aiming towards. You get the 5 year mark, and that's where you can start applying for permanent residency.
Yes, but the student visa doesn't give you a year. It gives you half a year.
Right. Okay. So what happens after that half a year? You have to renew again?
But no, it gives you. So if you're here for a year, it only counts half a year for your residency. So
Ah, it only counts for half a year.
you will have to be here studying for like 10
10
years.
years. Not many people would want to do that, but okay. But it kind of gets you your foot in the door, and maybe you can start with other applications, etc. So, what's
Yeah.
the most popular visa application that you're seeing at the moment? What one are you doing the most?
I will say the non-work visa and then
Okay.
work visa are kind of in par.
Right. Okay. And is that just because that's the type of clientele you're getting a lot of retirees selling up and moving to Spain?
Exactly. Yes. So mainly that. So I've got lots of also US clients, UK clients mainly. Either it's always about early retirement.
Yeah.
So either early retirement, retired, and then the digital nomad visa, the younger, kind of 30s, 40s that want to move to Spain.
Okay, interesting. And what normally causes delays when people are applying for their visas or for residency? What is the main thing that causes delays?
Mainly, it depends. It's like, again, paperwork. So if you don't get the right paperwork, so let's say that you put all the paperwork together, you either go to the consulate or do it online, and then immigration or the consulate can come back. So I always try for that not to happen,
Yeah.
because that's going to delay even more. So they can come back and say, we need this more information and we need you to provide X, Y, and Z.
Mm,
That's gonna obviously by the time you send it and everything else, that can delay you another month.
yeah. Okay. So if someone was planning to move to Spain right now, like from today, what's the first steps that they need to be doing today to get the process in the works? What advice would you give for that?
So as I said before, timeline. So
Okay.
you want to move. So I will say, I just got actually someone today that says they want to move by the end of the year and they want to do an non-executive visa. You have to start pretty much in the next couple of months.
Right. So six or 7 months is what you're looking at as a time frame.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. So the
It's,
first thing is setting out that timeline.
yeah. And then the paperwork, you need to understand it, because some of the paperwork that you're going to get, they have expiry date.
Yeah.
So, you don't want the paperwork to expire before. That's why the timeline is very important. You need to kind of time everything, to be able to get it correctly.
Okay. So obviously that's something that you can help out with, Help at Hand Spain. So can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about what you guys do and the services that you can offer, how you can help people moving to Spain?
Yeah, so as I said, I do obviously the non-lucrative visa, the digital nomad visa, the EU, non-EU, also Spanish, married to a non-EU as well, which is another one. And then I also help with other things, like obviously I always say, I don't not only do the visa, when you come to Spain, I also help with the TIE and the Padron.
Mm,
If people, for example, the retired people will get, instead of a private health insurance, they get the S1.
yeah.
The S1 is basically a paperwork that you get mainly from the UK. Then they can bring it to Spain. It means they bring the public healthcare.
Yeah.
So I also help them um, do the healthcare here with the S1. You have to kind of register online, and then they give you the doctor, etc. So I also do that. And then another thing that I basically offer, which I call like the concierge, basically in the when you come to Spain in the first few months, 2 or 3 months, you kind of, you will have a lot of questions, right? So I always say, well, I'm here, you
Yeah.
can ask me questions, anything you need. So it's not only the visa stuff. It's kind of more, guiding you through to, to make sure that you got a nice entrance into Spain, basically.
Brilliant. And how can people get hold of you? What's the best ways to get in contact?
So yeah, so website, Facebook. So yeah, in the website you will see my email, my number, which is it comes to a WhatsApp. And yeah, and Facebook. So I've got a Facebook page, and also a Facebook group. So
Brilliant.
where people can just, obviously talk, about what they're going through and any questions, etc.
So they're not alone. There's going to be other people that they can talk to about this as well.
Exactly. Yes.
That's a fantastic thing. Okay, but before we finish up, I've got one more question for you.
Yeah.
What's the one piece of advice to anyone who's thinking about moving to Spain? What would you say to them right now?
I will say don't treat it as a holiday.
Oh, that's
Um,
a good bit.
so yeah, so is I will say research, where you want to move, where you want to go, and even visit as well, because I just just give me a second. Can you
That's okay.
someone? I've got a customer that's calling. 1 second. Sorry. So yeah, I was just yeah. I just think, some people go, oh, I've been on holiday is really great,
Yeah.
but living in the country, the culture, as is very different, and I will say people, will need to adjust. It's always like, first it's like, oh, I'm here, it's great, but then you have to kind of immerse yourself into the culture, and things like we eat in different times, and
So true.
as and it's just, some people are okay doing that, some people are not.
Yeah.
And that's my advice of, it's not like you're just coming here and doing the same as you were doing in your country. It's not going to be the same.
No, I like it. So it's basically what I've been saying for a long time. It's treat Spain as not a holiday. It's a new life. It's a new culture. And if you respect Spain, Spain will respect you.
Exactly. So yeah,
Brilliant.
nothing to do with visa. It's a new life, right?
Yeah, that's it. It is a new life out here. And a lot of people, they are out here trying to experience that new life. But I don't think, if you don't integrate, you're just not going to experience what Spain actually is.
Exactly.
Perfect. Well, Maria Jose, thank you very, very much for joining us on today's podcast. It was really, really informative, really insightful to get all of this visa application questions answered, because I know a lot of my followers, they've asked questions about visa applications moving to Spain. So if they need to get in contact with you, they can go to your website. I'll be sure to put in a link in the description as well. So Maria Jose, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I think if we have any follow-up questions, we'll probably do another podcast in the next couple of months.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Fantastic. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.